like them to be out of the same color of paper. So you guys are going to need to get some scrap paper. It can be printed on one side, but not on two sides, okay? So any kind of printer paper will work. It has to be 8.5 by 11, but printer paper, not cardboard or whatever. Copy paper, I should say, not printer paper, but for most of you it's printer paper that you'll be using. You're looking for a cube that looks like this. This cube is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. This is going to be our basic unit to play with, okay? And from here we're going to be drawing in space. So you're going to have this three-dimensional thing to play with and draw in space. You can't draw these compositions out because they're not complex enough if you can draw them two-dimensionally. So you have to draw them three-dimensionally, okay? And I'll explain more of why that is on the next time when we work on them, okay? So 1.5 by 1.5 is a four-sided cube, so the open on two ends, okay? So you're going to have four sides. In order to make that, does anybody know how much paper you're going to need? 1.5 times 4. What's 1.5 times 1.5?
6.
Or 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3,
So
right?
6.
So 3 plus 3 is 6. Yes, good. So 6 inches. But you do need 1/2 inch for a glue tab, okay? So the tab that you glue the two sides, or the sides together. So since you have to make so many units, what I'm going to show you is how to make them really quickly. Okay, so it'll take you maybe at the most 3 hours, okay?
No, why is it that?
At the most. I don't think it'll take you that long, okay? So, you're going to make a template, okay? There's two ways to divide up your paper. You could make one from each sheet of paper, but then you would take you 100 and something sheets of paper, right? Yeah. So we're going to make as many as we can fit on one sheet of paper, and it's going to take you 8 sheets of paper, okay? The most that you can get out of one sheet of paper is you can get 7 this way. Let me make sure. 7 this way and 1 on the bottom if you do it horizontally. And if you do it vertically, you can get 6 on, or 5 this way, right? 5 that way, and then 3 this way, okay? So either way can work to make a template. You do want to make a template because I'm going to show you how you don't have to measure every single time, but I want to show you how to measure accurately. So I want you to bear with, and I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? So take a piece of paper, okay, and we're going to measure off 1.5 inches for the thickness of the cube, right? And we know that we want a bunch of them in a row, right? So you lay your ruler down, and when you're making your measurements, you do not do a big old blob, because then in this case you have to be very accurate with what we're doing right now. Because if you have one unit that's 1 1/4 and another one that's 1.5 inches and another one that's 1 5/8 inches, you won't be able to make your compositions. It's about their marrying together and to show how they, like for instance, all the tips have to come together for you to see what the linkages are, okay? So they have to be accurate. So in order to do that, you need a sharp edge. And let's pray I have a sharpener in here. I do. Okay, so you need a sharp edge, or use a mechanical pencil, either one. And then you want to sight directly over your ruler. If you have cork under your ruler, tilt the ruler down to your paper so that you're not getting a little bit this way or a little bit this way by having that distance between the paper and your numbers, okay? So you lean it down, and we're going to measure off 1.5 inches. And the way that you do it is make a small dot like that, barely visible, or you make a arrow coming out of that dot, okay? So you just kind of put your pencil where you think that the point is, and then pull away. Put your pencil where you think it is, and pull away. And it basically points to the exact spot you want to be at, okay? Yeah? Does that help? Okay, so 1.5 inches, and then instead of moving your ruler, you go over another 1.5 inches, which you could end up with a lot of problems that way. Like it'll build bigger and bigger and bigger mistakes, you keep it always at the same point on the edge of the paper, and you add to it. So if I have 1.5 inches and an 1.5 inches, it's 3 inches. What's 9 minus 3? 6. So then I use 6. Does that make sense? I'm making it more complicated. So then if I measure over 3 inches, I could do 3, 3, 3, and then I can come back. And if 1.5 inches is really tough for you guys, then move it to the halfway mark, right? And do in between. 1.5 inches will be on a regular number. Okay? Is that making sense, or did I confuse everybody? Okay, so 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, and never use the end of your ruler. If your ruler ends with a little bit, the numbers inside of the edge, use that, but don't use the edge of the ruler. We can't trust it, then it's really 1.5 inches, okay? All right. All right, so I measure over, and then now I need to do that 3 times. You do it twice to put the ruler in the right direction, and the 3rd time to check and make sure that you like all your other dots. It will help you in case you make a mistake, which I often make mistakes. I think most people do. And then you also want to spread it. Probably up here, middle, and down here is best. All right, the farther away, the more chance that you're in a good line with each other. Poor Julian's never going to stay awake through one of my lectures.
I'm awake.
Okay. So I'll start at the 10. 10 minus 1.5 inches, or should we do 3? 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. 4 minus 3 is too far, right? Okay, so we'll stop there. So now if we shift it down 1/2 inch, 9.5 minus 1.5 is what? 9.5 minus 1.5. What's 9 minus 1? 8. So what's 9.5 minus 1.5? 8.
You have an art teacher teaching you math.
You're exactly right, Julio. It's 8. 8. Yeah. 8 minus 3 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm shifting it down 1.5 inches, so you know it's doing 3, 3, 3. I'll probably make it, let's just do it this way to make it not so confusing. Okay, so if I start at the 9. 9 minus 1.5 inches. 7.5. 7.5 minus 1.5 inches. 6. I know it's difficult. 6 minus 1.5 inches. 4.5. Good. 4.5 minus 1.5 inches. 3. Do you guys know where the half mark is on a ruler?
Yes.
So what you do is you look for the highest point besides the regular number. Okay? If it's confusing to you. Okay, and then 3 minus 1.5 inches. 1.5. Okay, so I got it 3 lines. Now you line your ruler up without the cork side. The cork side should be up, okay, because you want to be as close to those as possible, and you have no ink or anything that you have to worry about. So you line those up, and you draw your line. So what I like to do is put my pencil there, so I know how far away it's got to be in order that the pencil draws a straight line, or an accurate line, I should say. And notice what I'm doing with my pencil point. You don't have to do this, but it's helpful. It'll keep it sharpened if you twist it. Okay? That keeps the edge sharper. Not for very long, but for a little bit longer. Okay? Try to be as accurate as you can. That was so inaccurate. I can't believe I said that at the same time as I made it totally off. Okay, try to make it as accurate as you can because this is your template. You're only measuring once, okay? So make it good. All of your pieces are going to be based on this template. What are we doing on time still? All right, now what? Now what do we do?
Those are supposed to be 1.5 or 6 inches each, right?
They're 6 inches each plus a 1/2 inch for a glue tab. Very cool.
6.5 from the end of each paper.
You are so right, Maria. You're honest. I love it. Good. So I'm going to carefully measure 6.5. And how many times do I do it? 3. I do it 1 at the edge, 1 in the middle, guys left. And one at this end. Oh boy, Julio, you sound like you need to sleep for a few days. And lots of vitamin C and water. Are you drinking lots of water? I measured 6.5 inches long because our strips need to be 6.5 inches long in order to make a cube. We have 6 inches for the cube, that made sense? And then I added in 1/2 inch for a glue tab. You could add in a different amount for a glue tab, but the reason I said 1/2 inch is because if you make it less, it's hard to fold it. You make it more, it starts to get bulky. So 1/2 inch is just an easy amount. It's a bubbler. Okay, so this is not anything, right? This is leftover, okay? Now, we have to turn this, we gotta get some more out of this. We wanna get as many out of the sheet of paper as we can, and oh shoot, I don't have an eraser. Yeah, I'm sure I am. Does anybody have an eraser really quick? Because I thought I had one, but it's not in here.
It's that white thing right there.
Where?
Inside the box.
Yeah, no, that's my blades. Thank you. I'm sure I have one somewhere, but I don't know. I'm going to go look for it. Okay, so now what do? You guys keep on your toes. Don't space out. We got to figure this out as a class or you won't know what you're doing. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing.
Because these are all this, and this is not long enough to make a second one, right? This is 4 and 3/8. Do you see how thick it is? It's not an inch and a half. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so now what do? Ryan? Okay, so we need to measure 1.5 inches down, okay? So 1, 2, 3. Can we make any more? 3 inches? Does that make sense? 1 at 3 inches? So that's 1.5 inches. So we've got 2 now. Can we make a third one? I don't know.
Well, you can check your measurements if that's...
It's exactly right! We are so in luck. We got an extra one. Okay. So, thank you. Once you're on it. Love it.
You're so clear.
Okay. And how far down do we go? How wide do we go on these?
How wide are we?
How long do they need to be? 6.5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't forget that 1/2 inch. A lot of people cut out all their 100 and whatever, and they don't have any glue tab. That's a big old no-no. Okay, so 6.5. Okay, and 6.5.
1, 2, 3.
I hope you people are talking like the class. I think I'm going to call you class clown instead of class leader.
No, I'm going to study this later.
How about now? Just
I'm doing both.
that's what happens when you don't when you do that. So, okay, so now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chances to make little, from every sheet you can get 8 units. If we need 120 units, how many sheets of paper do we need? Who's got a calculator?
20.
Oh, 100 and... So you're going to need like 15-ish or so?
Yeah, 15,
120
16.
divided by 8. What's
15.
8 into 12 is 1, 4, 15 sheets of paper.
She said it first.
Adriana, you have to bring your project home. I was trying to find you before. Okay, so this is scrap 2. Okay, so Now watch the magic, okay?
Ooh, watch
It
it.
sounds like so many pieces. You're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have no vacation. No, you're probably like, I'm not gonna do it. But okay. So if you use about 4 sheets of paper, I wouldn't do more than 4 because it gets when you press through, it gets off-centered, and you'll see what I mean. But this is only 3. But let's is there any paper in that box for me? And blanks.
Get your blank shit fine.
Trust me, I found some. Thank
You
you.
do that on the computer?
Yes.
You can do it.
But I don't want to see any black lines on the paper. It has to be completely pristine. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Let me get through this.
Oh, sorry.
Remind me that I have to answer that question. Okay, so you get them all lined up like this. Now watch the magic.
Watching.
But you don't have to watch for a second. I gotta find my little tool here. No, I'm looking for the little, do you guys see the push pin I had out? It was right here. Up here it is. Okay, you take a push pin, okay? A regular pin is a little bit skinny and it's hard to see the dots, okay? So what you want to do is you want to put a dot everywhere you need to cut. So 1, 2, 3. And you only have to get through the first piece of paper. You don't have to get, which I'm off on. Is that just short? Okay, so 1, you only have to get through the top sheet, okay? 1, 2, 3. 1. It's good to be organized about where you put your dots because there's going to be a lot of dots down there. 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And now you need to put 1, 2 at the ends so that you know that they're the ends. 1, 2. 1, 2. You can do your own method on this. This is my way of realizing it's an end. 2 and 1, 2. Okay, right? And then I go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 1, 2. Kristen, pay attention. 2. Okay? All right, you ready? Now, look what you got, a big old mess, right? So the first thing you do is you cut off the different direction, okay? So you pull this away, put your ruler on the end of where, so you've got those double dots, you line them up, okay? And you take your razor, or whatever it's called, X-Acto, and then after you get through, you should stand up. And don't do that, what I just did. So much for demos, I hate them. Focus. And you throw this aside, okay? Now, come back and so I put 4 sheets of paper. What's 4 times 8?
Wait, didn't you have it set the other way?
32. She said it.
Rebecca, isn't that wrong?
Yeah, those are long ways.
Okay, don't do that either.
That's alright, we get the gist.
We got it. We got it. We got it.
Wait, what?
We get the gist.
She's doing it right.
She was doing it.
No, because she's going by
No, I am doing it right. I'm doing it right. I'm doing it this way.
Oh, you flipped the paper.
Are you sure?
Can only look like a fool so many times. All right. So, but you're getting the gist of what I'm doing. Okay. So the other thing is that, but I'm glad you guys are keeping me on my toes. That's good. This means that you won't do it yourself, which is more important. Okay. My demo is whatever. Okay. So, all right. You finish this. You've got four sheets at 8 per sheet. How many did I make? I've got 32 in one set of cuts. Now I do this. How many times do I have to do 32 to get 120? 4 times. right? So you just do this, you lay this out 4 times, dot, 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 and you're done, okay, with that part. So you put your whole stack, I think it's good to do, Kenneth, please be quiet.
Okay.
I think it's really good to do things in bulk, like sort of assembly line, because it'll go faster, okay? So cut them all out, okay, lay them all out, cut them all out, done, right? Okay, so you've got a big stack of 120 of these. Now let me show you how to put them together. Okay, so that should take you all of maybe 45 minutes, right, to lay it out, to do your thing. Now you want to make a template that is 6 inches long. So don't worry about the distance between the 6 inches and the edge. If you're ½ inches off, who cares? Make sure your 6 inches is accurate. That's most important. So if you were a little bit off on your 6½, it won't matter. Measure 6 inches. Six inches. Is there any questions so far? Is everybody okay with where I'm going with this? And then you make your line. Okay, I would draw it with a pencil and write template on it. Okay, template. Okay, like this. And then use this to work with these. So the way you would do it is you would put the piece of paper on the edge of the template like this, and then you fold to the line. Line this edge up, and you'll be square. Okay? Throw it aside. Do it again. Is that making sense to everybody? Okay? So, Shani, you have a look like, no way. Okay, you do get it. Is everybody getting this? Yeah? Kristen, you with me? You look like you're in the ozone. Okay. So, what's that?
That's normal.
That's normal. Okay. All right. So then you get 120 of these, okay? You're watching TV, you're talking to your friends, you're not bored, okay? This is not slave labor, I promise. Okay, so then you get this. The next step is to fold the flap over as accurate as you can to the edge, okay? Just fold the flap, okay? Yeah, it's a lot of work for 3 hours and then you're done and you've got all the material you need to work with for the rest of the project. Okay, so there. So you keep doing this and you've got them all folded over, okay?
I do like flashy today.
Watch this. You take your glue or the glue mixture you have from before,
Oh, you do.
and you... Ooh, you don't do that. You make a little blob of glue. Okay. And I like to take a scrap of paper. We'll put not one of your good ones, but a scrap of paper, and make a kind of a brush out of it. I mean, you can do it either way. You can either dip it into the pile like this, but you want to try not to get too much glue on it, and you want to make sure that it's on every part so it stays, and then you just open this up and do that and put it aside. Or the other way is to, you could take a regular paintbrush, or you could take this and act as a paintbrush and just kind of smooth it on there, okay? Oh, this is my scrap one. That's not reality, I don't think. Okay? And just make a very thin coating and do this. You can use, other people have asked, can I use glue stick? You can use whatever you want as long as it stays. You don't want this thing opening up when you're cutting into your pieces, okay? I think that the white glue is what I believe in, but some people really don't want to use it, and so, well, maybe this was okay. So you could use a brush, you could use whatever you want, or you can just dip, okay? So then you get these all, you set them aside, and by the time you're done with them, they're all dry. You start from the bottom of the pile, And now that this one's dry, you take the two seams and you put the two seams together and you're done. And you have accurate cubes, okay? So another way to do that would be to put the seams together like this. This one doesn't have enough glue on it, or it's just not dry, one or the other. Okay, the other way would maybe be to put the seams together and fold it this way, so it's all like kind of folding in on itself, and then you do that and you're done, okay? You can bring them to class like this, so you don't, or you can put them in a loose bag, but you know, you can also just flatten them and bring them to class like this, and they'll just be doable?
Doable.
Yeah?
Cosy.
It'll go fast, you just need to give it a little bit of time. I mean, I think the most it could take is maybe 3 hours, and I know it's not a lot of fun. Well, 3 hours of homework, and you've been in class how long, and how much homework have you had in this class? And you have a week and something with 3 hours of homework, you do an hour for 3 nights, and you're done. Okay? This is not a lot of homework. Wednesday. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions about this?
All right. Good stuff.